our Yah require too much of us? Good question. Hi, Barry Phillips here with 10 Minute Torah, day number 1, the Torah portion, Tetzaveh. We began in Shemot or Exodus chapter number 27 and verse number 20. And let's read that verse, which says, "And you," speaking to Moshe, "you are to command the children of Israel to bring you clear oil, pressed olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually." The lamp in question here is, of course, the menorah. And the command was then that Am Israel would dig into their supply of oil and that they would furnish enough to keep the lamp burning on a continual basis. Now, when you consider that they were in the wilderness for 40 years, one might have to ask, where did they resource this oil? It is probably best to understand that there were not standing olive groves within the wilderness environment. So where was the oil coming from? Best thing I can think of is that they brought it with them from Mitzrayim, which means then that they had a limited supply. From the supply, not only were they being asked to supply for the menorah, but they would need to cook. They need oil for their own lamps to burn within their tents at night. So this is a sacrificial giving. Now there is the prospect that, as it was with Eliyahu and the widow, that he approached in a time of famine and said, bring me a glass of water or a cup of water. Well, I can do that. I'm going to get a couple sticks. I'm going to make a couple biscuits with what little meal and oil that I have left, and we're going to die. He said, bring me one first. The audacity of this prophet to look at a starving woman on her last 2 biscuits to say, make me one first. But you know, she obeyed, and the cruse of oil did not run out, neither did the meal run out until the famine was over. There is the opportunity of miraculous supply. So the question again, does Yah ask too much of us? Does Yah ask too much? Let's also consider this. The oil that the people were giving to light the menorah and to keep it burning was something that they never saw. The menorah was within the room, the set apart place. Only the Kohanim were allowed to go in there. Only the Kohanim addressed the menorah, took care of the wicks and the oil, and kept it burning. So the people were being asked to supply oil for a light that they never saw. They knew it was burning, and Yah desired it to be burning. So there was a spiritual well-being experienced, perhaps, but they never saw the light. Does Yah ask of you then to have dreams and visions and look for a destiny, to sow and to work and to labor, to pray and to cry out for things that will not materialize in your own lifetime? Let's consider this. The prophets prophesied and cried out for a coming of the kingdom, for the restoration of tribes, for the healing of sinful hearts and minds, for Yah to show mercy. They called down judgment on a variety of nations for their actions against Israel, but they did not see them in their day. When we go over to the book of Hebrews and chapter number 11, the famous Faith Hall of Fame, it says in verse 37 and following, they were stoned, they were tried, they were sawn in two, they were slain with the sword. They went about in sheepskins and goatskins, being in need, afflicted, mistreated, of whom the world was not worthy, wandering in deserts and mountains and caves and holes in the earth, and of having obtained witness through belief, all these did not receive the promise. Elohim having provided what is better for us, that they should not be made perfect apart from us. They didn't get the promise fulfilled in their day, but they will enjoy the fulfillment of their prophecies and the answering of their prayers as it takes place in our day, and we will be rewarded together. When Israel went into the land of inheritance, they were to live in homes that they did not build, and they were to reap fields and vineyards that they neither planted nor sown. Someone else did the work, but they got the benefit. And I can tell you that this thing that we call the Hebraic Roots movement, this community that we're a part of, as factional and fractional as we are, as strewn with relational issues as we experience, we are nonetheless the answer to prayer for those who have cried out for generations for revival. Make no mistake about it, what you and I are walking in is an answer to prayer. There were those that perhaps a limited few who understood from the prophecies that there had to be a restoration of all of these tribes, that Israel had to be healed and brought together, and they may have even recognized that the house of Yehuda and the house of Joseph, the house of Israel, were fractured and torn apart, and that there was a prophesied restoration that was going to take place. Maybe they read Ezekiel or Yehezkel 37 and saw the significance of that chapter. Maybe they coupled them with Acts 3 and I believe verse 19, where it speaks about the restoration of all things. They prayed. Somebody prayed. My grandparents, as perhaps maybe yours did, cried out for revival and for the salvation of souls. They did not see it in their day, but we may see it in ours. You and I will reap fields sown with tears and prayers and fastings and crying out from things that we had no part of in the beginnings. But we must be the ones faithful to tend these fields with our prayers, with our additional crying out, with our additional fasting until the harvest comes in. And who knows? I pray not, but it may take another generation or two to see the final culmination of all that we have sown and cried out for. I pray that the kingdom come in our day. I do not want my grandchildren and my children to continue on in a society that goes worse than it presently is. May Yah send his kingdom and bring it to us quickly. So these people were asked for oil. Was it too great a request? No, they gave joyfully and they gave liberally and they gave continuously. For 40 years that menorah burned inside the Mishkan. How long will it take for our prayers to be answered? How long are we willing to pray until our prayers are answered? These are questions that time will tell. But there must be a system of faith and belief that as Yeshua is the light of the world, and that he has sown that light in us, that you and I will be faithful to keep our wicks trimmed, our menorah within filled with oil, and continually be lit and shining with him as long as it takes. In Psalms 92 in verse 10, David cries out, I have been anointed with fresh oil. You have exalted my horn like that of a unicorn or a wild ox, and I shall be or have been anointed with fresh oil. I'm no different than you are. We all need fresh oil. We need resourced oil. We need the Ruach HaKodesh to be the oil of life and light, to fill us until we overflow. We need to be faithful to trim our wicks, that is, to apportion our lives in such fashion that the light can be had, to be situated in the cup of oil appropriately, and then ask Yah, light me, set me on fire, let me burn, let me give the light of Messiah, as long as it takes to bring forth the kingdom. May it be in our day. Until tomorrow, shalom.